I love how today you can't say this is dominant man territory, this is dominant female territory. It's now all been mixed. And in a sense, I feel that's what Ferrari's done with the Portofino M. Because in a sense, the Portofino isn't that sort of like your soft Ferrari, your entry-level Ferrari, the California. I mean, we know those cars and they're lovely, they're still Ferraris, but it's not exactly what the racing Ferrari driver is going to buy as his first choice. Roma is kind of what came after the Portofino, and you'd expect that to be alive and well, and it very much is, and you can see some similarities with these. But then as you think the successor to the Portofino is the Roma, then Ferrari brings out a new version of the Portofino, which is called the Portofino M. Probably one of the things that stick out most of the time is the fact that they want to combine the elegance with sportiness. In other words, what you get here is the UFC fighter, and she's a lady. To get the Portofino to be something that it's not, let's rather talk about the perks of having an entry-level Ferrari that gives you all the creature comforts of a Cabriolet GT Plus 2, and then also the drive style that matches that. It's an 8-speed dual clutch gearbox, 7th gear, uphill at just under 50 kilometers per hour. It's barely scratched there, it just changed into 8th. 920 RPMs at 50 kilometers per hour crawling up a hill in a Ferrari. What? The Portofino is supposed to be the Ferrari that you buy as an entry-level one, but it's also one that has a little bit more to offer on the enjoyable side of life in the calm lane. Not always redlining it and not always going sideways. However, with the Portofino M, it's like Ferrari's gone out to say that we want to mix the cards, all new. One of the things that they've done is given us 20 more horsepower than the normal Portofino from that 3.9 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine that we know very well, an engine that's won many awards already. However, this car has got a new camshaft profile that helps it generate more power, and then there's a new speed meter on the turbochargers measuring the speed of the turbines and helping it to spool faster. So now there's hardly any turbo lag. Things have become way more alive.
Give me all of your lies, 'cause you're my demon in disguise. I learned to love the cage you keep me in, but the walls keep closing in. And I don't wanna die, but your poison feels so right. But do I want you in your bed?
They say the M stands for modificata. Modificata because it's got a couple of modifications. Modificata on the inside, modificata on the outside. Very evident is the new front bumper over there with a bigger enlarged air ducts that now feed air all the way through here, exiting here at the back. You've got the air curtains in the prominent L-shaped lights that we all know. These lovely wheels over here, which I definitely believe we're going to be changing with our NF10 wheels, but the shape of those resembling some of the shapes that you find in the flank of this car. Really elongated nose because the engine sits placed right behind the front axle about here instead of on top of it. The driver position further back in front of the front axle. The rear has changed quite dramatically. We'll turn the car around in a second to show you that. It being sort of your GT plus 2 means you can take some people with you for the ride, and even in their image films they've got a family that pick up their kids and they're driving through the mountains and all that. It's lovely how before they pick up the kids the guy's going sideways with his wife in the car, and after that they're all cruising nice and, you know, play it by the rules. But because of that fact, you now have the sort of more race suspension. This is definitely something that I feel, as always, that we are going to change ever so slightly, not taking the comfort out of the car, but adding to the sportiness that Ferrari have actually wanted to now put into the M version of the Portofino. We can't point out all the cool carbon fiber bits on this because it's a standard version, or well, it's the version without carbon fiber from Ferrari, because we're going to be doing our own package on that. So look out for a film that's going to come up pretty soon on the channel once we've done with this car, as well as the POV of the standard version, which we'll do a little bit later today, coming out next week around about Wednesday. So while we're at this, let's have a look. We are in comfort mode now, and this is what a twin turbocharged V8 engine now sounds like. Nah, we'll change it into race mode. Has it actually even changed anything? Anyways, who cares? Let's go for a drive. We're going to go on a little normal circuit. We'll flick this into manual mode. And now the question is just how good this car is at a sort of agile driving session. Heck. 0 to 100 is 3.45 seconds, 0 to 200 9.8, and it tops out at 320 k's an hour. Those are crazy numbers, but they're not crazy in the world that we're living in with supercars. It's more about the delivery. It feels like it's very alive. It's almost like it wants to be pinched and it wants you to drive it hard. Why is it behaving so extremely excited? All those turbos spooling and keeping this 3.9 litre just pumping. 760 Newton meters at our disposal from just over 5,500 RPMs. That peak power of 620, well, that's yours at 7,500 RPM. So again, you're getting mixed emotions as to where this car actually wants you to keep it dancing. The personality of the engine, the revolutions, the sound, everything changes when you go up the rev range. Getting a little bit overwhelmed here by just how surprising this car is. And the gear changes are just sublime. Now, on a chart from 1 to 10 pertaining to the sexiness of this car's rear hind, it probably tops out at about 7.5 or 8. It looks so voluptuous, yet it doesn't look overdone. The rear bumper is absolute sexiness. This one in carbon fiber, housing the twin tailpipes on both sides. And there's an interesting story to the tailpipes because the exhaust system in this car doesn't have any rear mufflers as you have in the Ferrari Roma. And that's because the catalytic converters and all the business up front to keep it clean, giving you a Euro 6D status on this car, do such a good job at making it soft that they didn't even bother putting rear mufflers in there. So there was a lot more space to actually design, or redesign rather, the rear of this car. Over here, the lip of the boot just ever so slight curving up. It just looks phenomenally good, even in white. And the fact that these lights have sort of a smoked interior with this carbon fiber lining, really very, very tasteful. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the rear of this car. I know the Portofino is not something that everybody's raving about and going crazy about, but you can't tell me that this is not a good looking rear. The sound that this car is going to give from itself, if you want to see what that sounds like, if you want to hear what that sounds like, then click on the top right hand side of the screen and watch the film on the NOVITEC Ferrari Roma, because I think the fact that you have no roof, well, that's going to be very exciting. And speaking of no roof, That's something that I've left to the end because it is obviously what makes this car what it is. With the roof down, the slightest of gurgles and burbles makes it a bit more exciting. The roof by itself is a one piece that covers it over there, and it's up and down in about 14 seconds up to a speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Really tail hammer. Now that might be because the roads are slightly cold, but also it's just the setup, this car being rather light at the rear and still having all that torque. It really does make for an absolutely thrilling drive. Just imagine how sublime it is going to be once the NOVITEC exhaust system is fitted to this car. Fascinating thing. Really surprised me today, Portofino. Absolutely surprised me. Can't wait for the NOVITEC version of this car. Well guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop us some comments down below. Let us know how you like this car, what you would change, or what you would like us to change. Also, if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can follow NOVITEC Group or me personally at Beyond the Cork. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, keep safe. Ciao.